What's up, guys? And welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast. Now, I have one very, very important question for you. Have you guys seen any West Ham fans around recently? Because they've gone awfully quiet. Come on, Spurs. 4-1 win. The Hammers got hammered like a fucking nail into a wall. I'm not even going to lie. I let Harry talk about the game because I only saw clippings of it because I was at work. But for me, that period is the second half, mate. Harry, let's talk about it. Let's go with the first half first.
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, okay. You weren't there. Sorry.
Unfortunately, not. I was stuck at work.
The first half was very open as usual, and obviously Kudus scored for West Ham, who was, by the way, a nightmare for us all game until he got sent off. The guy was rinsing us, even in the second half. And I was quite happy he got sent off in the end because I was like, if West Ham were going to get back into the game, it was probably going to come through him. But I felt like in the first half we gave West Ham a lot of room, and it felt like what we spoke about before about the midfield trio.
About the midfield trio, yeah.
Obviously picked his standard midfield trio, minus obviously Basuma came for Bentancur, but the same sort of the one.
Two more attacking, one anchor, yeah.
And then surprisingly at half time, obviously he took off Maddison for start. I was quite shocked. I was like, what? Because I'd never seen him make a move like that. But it kind of felt like, to me at least, on the whole, he's kind of correcting the mistake. Mainly because me and you sat on here.
And we both said the same thing, that we'd get overrun.
Two holdings and one, and I was with you with Kulusevski as the one to be there, not Maddison, at least in my opinion. And then obviously Son came back in. I didn't even know he was even fit, to be honest. I knew he was back in training, but I didn't think he would chuck him straight in. But I guess anyone's better alternative than Timo Werner. I'd rather have you there instead of Werner. but for me, the first half was very open. West Ham had a lot of chances as well. I felt like they stretched us a lot. Bowen had a lot of space, which I didn't like. But we did get equaliser through arguably our best player this season in Kulusevski. He got a bit lucky with the shot, to be honest. I don't know if you've seen it hit both posts.
I have, yeah, seen both posts, yeah.
When we were there, my hand was I had to say it, when it goes all quiet, when you don't know where it's going to go? Because I was thinking, oh no, it's going to go out. Because the way it bounces, it hits sometimes it hits both posts. And then
to be fair, the last time one hit like that, the backspin was against us. So I think the spin that time, is owed, to be fair.
Yeah, so Kulusevski kind of saved us in that respect. But he was, again, for me, a man of the match. I think him going to midfield has changed the dynamic of the team completely.
100%.
This is something I've been saying for the past year. So,
yeah. So before we talk about the second half, a couple of things I want to touch on for what you said. So first of all, I think one of the things we have to say in terms of, cool, the finish was a little bit lucky, but you make your own luck, and having players with the confidence to drive into those areas and try and apply pressure. You and I both know that there are very few teams in the world that can withstand consistent pressure, and West Ham are not one of those teams. And I think when Kulusevski, the confidence he has right now is unbelievable. If you compare what he was like at the end of last season, where we were sitting there thinking, in 18 months he's probably going to be sold. We both said the same thing, and that's where it looked like his head is.
If he didn't move into the middle, the guy was gone.
That's where it looked like it headed. And
do or die, really.
I think for me, the confidence he has right now is not just present in himself and the way he holds himself and the way he moves and his decision making, but it's also showing in other players. He's making the players around him better. He's making the players around him more confident. He's making the players around him more comfortable. And we sat and spoke about, and I know we've spoken on and off about leadership issues, and I'm not going to go into that on today's episode. But what I will say is we've sat there and said that you can be a leader and you can lead by example without wearing the armband. And I think Kulusevski is slowly becoming one of those players that in those key moments is going, fuck you, defenders, fuck you, my moment, I'm going to do something.
I do think with Kulusevski, it's more to do with a lot of if I hate to compare it to Maddison, but we have to say it in this instance because obviously Maddison got taken off. Kulusevski is taller, stronger. I think his ball retention is the best we have in the squad, regardless.
In a long time, yeah.
Madison, like I argued before, is more of a
luxury player.
He'll sit back and he'll spread the ball play rather than drive with it. And Kulusevski, especially in these sorts of games, because of his physicality, is a way better pick as a 10. And I think in that game, if anyone was going to change it for us, it was probably going to be him.
I think what
And
people
I
fail
think
to realise
I'm
as
happy
well.
he scored anyway, obviously, because I mean, he
Yeah.
won the game. But also because like if I compare him often to Dembele, and the one thing Dembele didn't have was goals,
Isn't it
right?
goals? Yeah, he got one or two odd
Just
ones, but
had
not
like
enough.
maybe he got like 10 goals this season or something, or 5 to 8 or something. I'd be happy. I'd be like, in my view, right now, I don't know if we'll get hate for this. I prefer Kulusevski in the middle to Dembele, to be honest. Like, I think he gives us more.
Yeah, I think he Dembele was kind of a more. He would kind of pick up the ball in the sixth position, drive it forward into the eight. Kulusevski can pick the ball up in the sixth position, but drive it into the box as a nine almost at times. And having someone who can be a bridge between those parts of the team is so important, especially against teams where the midfield's aggressive. And I think what people fail to realise, and this is the one issue I do have with Spurs fans, is people sitting there and saying, oh, you took Maddison off, so Maddison must be shit. It's not the case. You need different types of creators in different types of games. West Ham is a derby. It's a physical game. It's a game of hatred. It's a game of...
Madison has the bottle for it in these sort of rough games.
Yeah, I think when it gets down to the rough and tumble of it, I don't think he has the... I think he's the sort of person to step away from a tackle rather than get stuck in. Kulusevski will get up in the face. He'll use his body. He'll win the ball. And like you say, it is Dembele-esque almost. And I think the biggest thing for me is one thing that you've criticised Ange a lot over in the 12 months prior to the start of this season. There were so many times where it'd be going wrong in a game and Ange not only wouldn't make a change, but he wouldn't acknowledge the fact that he could do something differently. There's been several times...
right into a 3-2 down to make changes.
No, I'm not saying that he's perfect, but what I'm saying is there's been a lot more incidences this season where he's either made a change at halftime, made a change at 50 minutes, made a change at 55 minutes. He's made a tactical tweak, position-wise. If you look at a few weeks ago, he moved Maddison further out wide. Udogie was overlapping him.
He's talking about Brentford, I think. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's making little tweaks here or there, which clearly show that he's a lot more observant about what's going on in the game than what we give him credit for. Granted, it's still not flawless because situations like Brighton.
Maybe it felt like to me like he was correcting the mistake.
I don't think so. I think he felt like we would have more time on the ball than what we had. And he felt like there'd be a bit more space for Maddison to be more of a luxury player. By half-time, he realised that this game, we're not being given that 1 or 2% extra luxury. So I'm going to take him off and bring on a sheer engine. And when we were discussing the starting 11 last week, we spoke about Sarr being an absolute engine. I can't stress enough his legs, his running power, and by the way, the ball for Son was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And one thing I didn't know if Sarr would ever have, he's great at winning the ball and driving forward with it and playing those passes as you build up the pitch. But what I've not seen him do is, in the counter-attacking moments, pick out a longer range pass to break through a layer of press.
The thing with Sarr, though, is he needs to add, and I'm not saying he's not adding, by the way, because he's got a few goals this season, like goals and assists. Otherwise, like, he's just going to be that player who just runs and... Yeah,
what I think we need in some games, in some moments, is we don't need the goals. I think the advantage we have playing the way we play is we get goals from anywhere and everywhere. If you look at the stats for who's scored and who's assisted, I don't think, apart from Vicario, I don't think there's a single player this season in our main consistent starting 11 who hasn't scored or assisted. Now, if you look at Spurs of old, and we've spoken about it, I can get it up in a minute, actually, to prove I'm right. But don't look at me like that. I think
scored, has he? I don't think he's scored, has he?
He scored against Burnley. No, that was last year. Was that last year?
I don't think he scored this season, has he?
Okay, hold on 2 seconds.
Romero's got a header, I know, hasn't he?
Hold on 2 seconds, 2 seconds.
Maddison scored, of course, Maddison
scored. I need to find the graphic. I can't find that.
Kulusevski scored. Bissouma scored.
2 seconds, I'm
scored, as far as I know.
Porro scored. I don't know who he scored against. He got a goal. He got a goal
against Everton or something.
Against Leicester, 1-1 at the start of the season.
Oh yeah, he got when he ran in the box.
When he ran the box and headed. So if you look at it, we're getting goals and assists from everywhere. One of the biggest issues we've said over the last 6 or 7 years is we rely on 1 or 2 players for goals. It was Kane and Son for a long time, and then it was Son for the period under Conte, and if Son wasn't scoring, then we weren't scoring.
Well.
The one thing that's so positive about Ange's system is we get goals from everywhere. We can sit there and people look at Solanke and go, Solanke didn't score his shit. Solanke's press, Solanke's overall play, Solanke's ability to play with others, Solanke's ability to pull defenders away has such a positive impact that when he's not scoring, it's still clear what he's doing for the team. Whereas if we look at taking Kane out of the equation because he's the pinnacle of the pinnacle of the pinnacle. But if you look at other strikers we've had in the past, if they've not scored, they're coasting. We're playing with 10 men.
Then you could argue, I'm not saying the best strike, by the way, but Richarlison still does the pressing even when he's not scoring.
He does, but I feel like sometimes he can go. Sometimes Richarlison doesn't get involved in the interlinking play as much as what Solanke does.
I know. Solanke's a better player, but I don't think by that much, to be honest.
I think it's more than what we think.
Tad more pace, but I think Richarlison's got a tad more strength. I think they're pretty similar. I just think Solanke's got more of a.
I think Solanke's got more of a teamwork brain, if that makes sense. Whereas Richarlison's aim is to get on the end of chances.
Yeah.
Solanke, if he knows he can't.
Get involved into play. Richarlison was getting a header or a cross, basically.
Exactly. You bring Richarlison on with 10, 15 minutes to go, or you bring him on against, like we did when we played Nottingham Forest away last year, where we needed someone physical up against Willy Bolly. We needed somebody who wouldn't be afraid to back into the defenders. We didn't play Son through the middle in that game. We played Richarlison, and the goal came from a long ball in, Kulusevski ball, Richarlison header, and that's how we scored. Probably the most Brexit I've seen us play under Ange the whole time, to be fair. But, it's a tough ground, difficult manager to break down when he's managing a shit teim. When he manages a mid to relegation level team.
He's Nuno. It's a bit mad.
Yeah. So I think going back to Kulusevski, and I think sometimes there'll be times where we play Kulusevski and Maddison together, and sometimes there'll be times where we play one or the other. And what people need to understand is we have a luxury that we have both. Because then when we need to play both, we've got both. When we need to play one, we can play one. When we need to play the other, we can play the other. I think I was actually talking to somebody on TikTok about it the other day, and Spurs fans have been so starved of quality and depth for so long. Sarr didn't start 2 games in a row. And I see people say, the club are going to sell him in the summer. No, because players understand that they are key in certain moments. You cannot play a 22-man squad, every single player, 38 games a season. It's not possible.
Also, we have cup games, so I mean.
But what I'm saying is, all right then. So let's call it 45 games a season.
It's 45 to 50. Let's say, I don't know.
All right, let's call it 50 for argument's sake. You can't play 22 players every single game for 50 games. You can only start 11 players. So you have to have depth. And the biggest luxury we have now is the fact that, and I know you have the issue with just signing young players, and I'm not even going to start the argument today because we talk about it every week. But what I will say is, when we signed Son, none of us knew who he was. None of us had watched him at all. Anyone who said they watched him was a lion. Even me, as a football manager nerd, didn't have a clue who he was. And he came in, he had an average loan spell. He got played a handful of sprinkle of minutes under Conte. And when Ange came in, not only did he give him the confidence and belief in himself, but he said to him, look, this is the type of player you are. We know you're an engine. We know you've got legs. We know you want to run and press and press and press. And we know that you can get into goal-scoring moments in key areas. I mean, when we had the red card in the Europa League a couple of weeks ago, and he was at the back post from that corner for a tap-in, that swung the game back in our favour. And even though they were still trying to throw everything at us, because we got that second goal, we were more comfortable. We could allow us just to soak up a bit of pressure, get the third, and kill the game. And I think Sarr has this untapped potential for me that he can get into the box and he can score goals and he can get assists, but his sheer running power is unbelievable.
Like I said, his only player who really reminds me of is Ramirez at Chelsea, if you remember him.
Yes, yeah. Literally, ability in both boxes, great across the park, so much energy, so much athleticism. And Sarr's not as, when the first couple of games we saw when he played under Conte, one of the things I said to you was I thought he was a little bit weak. You can't say that about him anymore. He just shrugs past players, and he's not the same strength or the same body type as Kulusevski, but he's got the confidence just to breeze past players. And we've seen him take 1-2 touches to pass through players. And I love the fact that we have an option like that where we can go at halftime and go, you know what? The game is neck and neck at the moment. We need to make a little tweak. One player off, one player on. And
So midfield, we're like stocked, yeah.
We're stocked, yeah.
In defence, I'm a bit.
And in attack, it's
fullback situation, and in attack, yeah, let's not talk about it.
But yeah, we're starting another transfer window conversation. The one thing I will say quickly before we talk about the second half is, I feel like with the squad we've got and the energy we've got and the legs we've got, it really allows us just to press relentlessly. And I went back and watched like from half time until Son's goal, and I just can't believe it. Like, we were so in West Ham's face, exactly how we played the first half against Brighton, but we came out on steroids in the second half against West Ham. There was no way on earth from the minute, and Kulusevski said it, he said from the minute we equalised, we grouped together and we felt like as a group, we were going to choke them in the second half. And that's exactly what we did. Exactly what we did. From the minute that whistle went, we just suffocated them.
I think, like, we did this last season, so for me, it's not. I don't think there's not much difference, because last season we had a sequence of games where we were scoring like 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
At the same time, the problem with Tottenham is, and I go back to the Brighton game, is because you can easily concede 2 or 3 in a row in a very quick succession because we play such a high risk open game.
Yeah.
So this is where like the gamble paid off, let's say, because we were so like up front with it. And
relentless.
also, I think Lopetegu's in a mess really at West Ham. I don't know much about Lopetegui, but
I don't rate him at all. I thought it was the wrong decision from the minute he went in personally.
I just think Moyes would have done a better job against us personally. But,
I'd agree.
But like, I think he's kind of more open. Football that they craved at West Ham is kind of biting him in the arse.
They're getting it open in the defence just to run straight through.
Yeah. And the Basuma goal, obviously, was good. That was early in the half because if it carried on, say another 15 minutes, we didn't score. It could have easily swung the other way, especially because like West Ham with Kudus was destroying us, man. Even when we were 4-1 up. 3-1 up.
On the topic of Basuma, actually, because we'll go goal by goal. One thing we did criticise him last season, that he never, if the ball was laid to the edge of the box, he wouldn't meet it at all. He would sit too far back, even as the holding midfielder. And one of the things that I've stressed relentlessly since we started recording was the fact that the 6 still has to press, still has to be part of the suffocation process, but has to do it in a way where they're smart enough not to get caught behind. And he did it against Everton when the ball came to the...
right? I think what this is.
I don't know. It was. When we played Everton at the start of the season, the ball came to the edge of the box and Basuma ran onto the ball, striked it perfectly and scored. Ball to the edge of the box against West Ham, Basuma's ran onto it and scored. And I think one thing I'm really liking with him at the moment is he seems to just be reading the game a little bit better in the attacking sequence. I've not had a problem with him, apart from that sort of 10-game period after he got sent off last year against Luton. I've not had a problem with his defensive work. He wins the ball well. He gets stuck in. He's not afraid of a tackle. He'll get aggressive. He'll get his faces.
I think, like, and I go back to Maddison as an example, because Maddison's very, like, in and out of games as well. Like, with Basuma and Maddison, I'm judging them after the first 10 games, because last season they were like our best players in the first 10 games,
and then flopped after that.
Completely fell off. So like, and also
it's got to keep up. But what I'm saying to you is he's doing things he wasn't doing last season.
And we have Kulusevski in the middle now, so I don't know whether you'll see such a massive drop off because he's moved Kulusevski clearly into the middle. I don't know if it's watching a podcast or someone else's podcast. I don't know. And then Bentancur, because he's come back from his injury now. Like I think he's kind of fully recovered.
He looks like the player he was when we first got him. Not
exactly the same player, but like he's sort of 70%, 80% maybe. But he's using him in a 6, which I think kind of suits him more now due to his ACL, because I think you have to do less running. And like he's going in Basuma's position, because really Basuma and Bentancur kind of fight out for the same spot. Really, you could argue right now. And then you got Kulu with Maddison, I guess. And then some of them play together, and you got Sarr with, I don't know. I think we'll include both. I don't really include him in that, but but like as in, so what I'm saying is the midfield options have got loads. It's just about combination.
We've got competition. We've got competition for places, and I think that's why I agree with you. I don't think we'll see a drop off from Basuma this season, purely for the fact that he knows it won't be as significant. And he knows he'll have to earn his place back again.
Touch really again.
I mean, I think the biggest thing we said about Basuma last season was Bentancur wasn't really playing the 6 at all. He wasn't. I don't think his mind at that stage.
One game in the 6, remember, and he got injured again.
Yeah, and even still, when he played the six last season, Bentancur wasn't to the level he was this season. It sounds really bad, but I almost feel like him getting injured again allowed him to recover properly this time.
Probably because he had the summer as well. And
yeah, I think that helps, and I think the. I don't think we'll see a drop off in terms of Basuma performance wise because he knows if he does, he's going to have to earn his place back again. So for him, he's actually just taking a chance on those moments that he might have. I'm not going to press for that. Yeah. Whereas now he's running and he's attacking the ball on the edge of the box if it's there. And if it's not there or he's missing a chance or it's blocked and the ball bounces behind him, he's getting aggressive. He's winning the ball back again and then he's starting the recycle again. When I spoke about the three planes of glass in terms of the press at the beginning of the season, that metaphor.
I had to put it this way. Hope people don't take this the wrong way. He reminds me a little bit of like Adebayor and players like that where if they want to play, if they're mentally like
then they can.
Then they can be like one of the best players on the pitch. Like I'm not joking. Like Adebayor, when he was on it, the guy was unplayable. Even at Tottenham in that season under Harry, like when he was on it, or even those few 10 games, wherever it was under AVB the season after, when he decided to play, he was like one of the best players. But with Bissouma, again, I think part of it's mental. Like I think he gets a bit lazy sometimes. Like, but now I don't know whether the Bentancur thing will be a factor. Like I don't know. I can't say from now. We're like 8 games in, or 7, 8 games. So it just again it remains to be seen, like whether he'll just.
I think based on what we've seen so far this season and the rotation between the two, I think everything suggests that it's going to be a massive positive for us this season.
Yeah, like with Madison, though, I'm less confident. I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel like this is one thing I did see actually, and I think it's kind of a really wrong approach from Spurs fans. Is some Spurs fans have said that Madison, like. They were trying to imply that Madison was sulking coming off at half time. For me, from what I saw, there was no indication of that. He understood that it was a tactical change. And I think Madison wouldn't have been given one of those leadership roles if Ange wouldn't expect that he would see the bigger picture and understand that tactical change gives us 3 points. That's 3 points closer to a trophy in some capacity or other. If you want to be successful here, you have to sacrifice a finger to save a hand or whatever it might be. Sometimes, actually, I'm going to need to take you off at half-time. And I don't think there's a single player, hand on heart, that I can say, in this squad of players, if they were subbed off at half-time for a tactical change and we went on to win the game, I don't think there's a single one of these players that I can say would have an attitude problem with that. Because they're all mature enough and responsible enough. And there's a togetherness about this squad where they all understand what the bigger picture actually is. I think
partly is also because, I hate to say it this way, that they are younger. And the only player two players I ever saw get really arsy about being taken off in my lifetime, I can remember off the top of my head, was Ndombele. Remember that incident? And also, you don't know if you remember this, but Hossam Ghali, when he got taken off for his shirt. I know you don't know about this. On the Martin Yol, we had an Egyptian player called Hossam Ghali. He actually was pretty good, to be fair to him. Like he was kind of like a number 10 before number 10s existed, before it was like an actual position. Like if he was playing now, he probably would play there. And he used these kind of players to be shoved on the right, on the left, because they weren't, number 10s didn't really exist back then. You had 4-4-2 most of the time, or even 4-3-3, which had a variation of like 2 8s, for example, and a 6. Like one would sit and the other two, they would be like, go and do what you want. And Chelsea kind of invented that with Makelele, the number 6 role, I think, personally. Like the true 6. And I think like Ghali, what happened? He got subbed off. He got subbed on. I can't remember. I'd have to Google what team it was, but I was there, so it was the old White Hart Lane. And then he got taken off, and he chucked his shot on the floor, and that was it for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at even, I hate to mention him because it's a Spurs podcast, but even if you look at Granit Xhaka a couple of years ago when he was subbed off against Arsenal and he ripped the captain's arm and threw it on the floor. Like I think the one advice we've got, and I do agree with you. I think part of it is young players, and they know that. He was young babies in the grand scheme of things. But this is what I'm saying. I think the fact that people are trying to give Maddison a tag that he's not suggested against. I'm happy for people like after the first 10 games last season to criticise that he was a bit of a passenger, wasn't pressing as much, looked afraid to get injured after his injury against Chelsea. He looked afraid to get injured. But people sitting there and saying that he was sulking after getting sent off West Ham, I didn't get that impression at all. If you looked at his reaction on the bench, it was positive, it was supportive, it was a mature, like
I was there. I didn't see anything. So
adult figure. So that's the impression I got anyway.
I didn't see anything. So that's your answer. I was there. I didn't see anything weird.
There you go. After Basuma, then it was the own goal. Now it was. I do agree with what I watched your match reaction thing.
Yeah.
And I do agree that it was a poor effort from Son. But West Ham were all over the place defensively. And I think when we've spoken about it for a long time, that Spurs have a habit of not creating their own luck. They're trying to take the hardest goal scoring opportunities and just wondering why we're never scoring. And it's like shooting from the box every time you get the ball and you're clean one-on-one. You shoot from the edge of the box rather than running half a yard further and slotting it past the keeper. You're only going to score 1 in every 10 because you're making it harder for yourself. I think in that situation, Spurs were pinning West Ham back. And for me, even if we hadn't have scored that chance, it felt like in that period, just on that attack, it felt like we were going to score again anyway. And then after that goal,
it was Calamitous goal. Honestly, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was. I don't even know how it got it. Like it hit one defender, then another defender, and it just got off the line.
But you make your own luck, and the overlapping runs and the intensity and the speed in which we played in West Ham's box is what caused that goal more than the shot itself. And then after the own goal, obviously Son scored. Fantastic ball from Sarr. Don't get me wrong, I do think Areola could have probably done a bit better for Kulusevski's and for Son's goals.
Yeah, the game was kind of done by that point. Anyway.
But that being said, though, and we've spoken about Sarr in the assist. One thing I will say, and don't get me wrong, he's still slower. His legs are still going. He will still need replacing. I'm not an idiot. What I will say is, I think getting injured again maybe helped Son because it looked like we said this at the start that he seemed way off it. Really, after the Everton game, he seemed way off it. I think he'd been nursing an injury for a few games because he hasn't ran like that or had the looks as sharp as that this entire season.
Then he didn't. I think he was. Who did he play before West Ham?
Brighton.
Yeah, he didn't play versus Brighton, did he?
No, he was injured.
But like, as in with Son, for me, it's like. Even when he scored that goal that Van de Ven set him up for, I mean, again, with that game, it was like 3-0, wasn't it? 2-3-0. But
yeah.
I'm saying is it's okay when the game is like that because I remember even last under Conte when he had that really bad season and he came back from that injury, he was playing with an injury. Like the game was
really
open.
He came off the bench and then scored a hat-trick, didn't he?
Yeah, the game was like really open and it was like easy for him because the last 10, 20 minutes the teams are tied up, which is why I'm a very big advocate of saying, I wanted us to sign 2 top-class wings in the summer plus a striker, and you saw us like, say in the game we played, right? Say you had Eze on the left and, I don't know, Kvaratskhelia or Chiesa or something on the right, and then you had Solanke up front. You could bring on Son, take off one of the wingers, bring on Son, or even take off a striker, bring on Son, last 30 minutes, whatever. The guy would have so much energy. And
this is what makes me think that even if we do sign a top winger next season, I still think Son will be in and around the squad because he still has uses in those late in games, especially against. And one thing we said last season
is that you can't fault him for is like he's a really good finisher. Like
we said this when
that's not my issue with him. It's just that.
It's the pace to get himself in such a position. But
the pace to do it.
What I will say, though, that's the quickest he's looked in a long time. His legs were sharp.
Because he didn't play for a while. It helped him.
I think we're slowly going to see Son being played every other game. Or 60 minutes, then 50 minutes, then 60 minutes, then 50 minutes. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world because, one, it gives us a chance to embed other players. But I think in those moments, we said this last season, there were too many times where we were 2-1 up or 3-1 up even and dominating the ball, dominating chances. And the game finished us winning by 1 goal or us drawing because we couldn't get that extra goal. I think having someone like Son, the level of finisher he is, Todibo was already on his back legs from the Son chance before. And I think this is where I say this the sharpest he's looked in a while. The speed in which he did those step overs and the speed in which he made the decision to put it on his left and hit it. One thing we said about Son, I remember when he scored from the edge of the box against Middlesbrough years ago, and we had a conversation and we had a conversation the game before that, and we said he just needs to take it. The minute he decides to shoot, he just needs to put it on his foot and shoot. If he takes too long, he was panicking, getting stuck under the ball, and that was one of the problems he had in his first couple of seasons at Spurs, was he was really struggling to be
Also, I don't
instinctive with
the
his
first season as
decisions.
well. He was mainly like a bench option, wasn't he? Until like near the end
Yeah.
of the season, and then
And
they
then his second season, I felt like he was getting stuck under the ball a lot because
he made it into the team. I remember in the second season because he played him. We had that succession of away games. I think I don't know if it was now, and he started playing him more. Poch, I remember,
yeah,
and he started scoring goals, and I was like, "Oh, who's this player?" Like I miss the old Son. Obviously, we're not going to get him back, but like I think you need to keep him around in the sense of like a rotational player. Like I don't mind his
yeah.
rotational player, or like
He's too good. He's too good to not keep around.
like
And I
him up
think,
front in some games because Solanke can't play every game anyway. There,
yeah,
and then even I know you never do this, but Richarlison was on up front. You never do that, but but like because obviously Richarlison he wants to stay right now apparently, but I don't know if the club want to get rid of him. So
yeah.
keeping on, you're probably going to
But
keep him.
even if they don't, to be fair, let's say that Odobert becomes the player that he has the potential to be, then we've got a pacey, quick, electric. Obviously, we've got the young South Korean fella coming in January as well. There's a potential for Son to drop to sort of second choice option while we're developing those players, still give the players the confidence and the education and the learning and the experience that he's got and help them through those
I still think he's
moments.
going to become a club ambassador. Like,
Yeah, I think he will in the long term. But I think he's got, after this season, I think he's got 2 years as a squad player before we sit there and sort of get to that point. And I think Son's experienced enough to know that he would rather stay 2 years as a squad player and win a trophy at Spurs than leave next season and end up with nothing.
I mean, we don't know about the trophy thing. We'll have to see.
Well, yeah, but but like I was saying before, the speed in which he made that decision, it was almost like as soon as he got the ball from Son, he knew he was going to take Todibo on, get a space, and then shoot. And there was what I loved about that goal, even though Ariota should have saved it, was there was no hesitation from Son. The minute he was one-on-one with Todibo, that was it. Leave him on his arse, on your left foot, and just smack it.
You knew he was going to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is one thing we've had a criticism of Son this season. He's had the ball and he's gone back to Son of the first season at Spurs. He's taken 15 seconds to decide what he wants to do. By the time he's decided what he wants to do, he's been isolated. When we've got the quality in the midfield in our fullbacks to play those kinds of passes, when we do that, he literally needs to be one side, the other side, bang. One side, the other side, bang. Take a touch, rip it, bang.
When he was playing on the left, he wasn't really playing on the left, really. I mean, I would argue Maddison took a warm wide position and took the space that normally Son would take. And Son was playing more in the field. And then I remember he was on the right, but he was playing more outwards.
Yeah.
What it did allow Son to play like an inside forward, pretty much, which is why he did a lot better on the left that day. Because he was playing further.
He was close, he was narrow.
And Maddison was covering the area that he would normally occupy.
Yeah.
In a normal game, let's say, if he didn't do any tactical tweaks, let's say. So, but then because I guess the game was stretched, I mean, he scored the goal really, but like on the bigger picture is obviously we lost to Brighton, being West Ham. So the big question is: are we going to go to Palace and win now, or are we going to do a Tottenham?
And that is the smoothest transition I've ever seen in my life. Because let's talk about Crystal Palace at the weekend. In fact, just quickly, Mohamed Kudus is a fucking idiot. It was a red card. I didn't want to hear what anyone says. He could have had 3 different red cards for 3 different slaps. I don't want to hear West Ham fans moaning. He's probably going to be banned for 4 or 5 games, it looks like.
It was a red card. I don't know how it wasn't.
It looks like the FA have said it was extreme violent conduct, which it was. People complaining about Spurs being charged. In this situation, the minute you've got 2 players from either club, even if one player started it and the other player didn't do anything, just stood there and got beat to death, then, bit of an exaggeration, then for me, the FA are the same. They're money-grabbing arseholes. And they'll charge both players involved and both clubs involved, regardless of whether one club started it or not, because that's just how it is. So don't stress. It's normal. It's expected. It is what it is. The one thing I would say, Mohamed Kudus, I hope you like that fucking chair because you're going to be sat on it for the next 3 or 4 games. And now we move on to Crystal Palace. Now, do you know what, right? I was talking to Kieran actually earlier.
Yeah.
And he was saying about he can't understand how there's been such a significant drop-off for Palace. And my argument was, the whole summer, Glasner was linked with the move away. Mateta was linked with the move away. Eze was linked with a move away. Elise was linked with a move away and moved. Anderson left. And even though he might not be the top of the top player, his experience and leadership is so important. Gueye linked with a move away. Even though these players didn't move, that squad looks so unsettled and so imbalanced, and then they brought in Kamada on big wages, and he's looked a shadow of the player he was at Frankfurt under Glasner. I think this is the best time to play Palace because and Harry's like, you're going to fucking regret saying that. I think this is the best, touch wood, this is the best time to play Palace because their confidence looks low. They're not making the right decisions in transition. They're not making the right decisions defensively. They're not making the right decisions when they get the ball in the final third. They look short of confidence. They look short of energy. Lethargic is the best word I'd use to describe them. That performance against Forest, it looks lethargic. And I think, and don't get me wrong, if Glasner left tomorrow, I think he'd end up with a top job, and he's a great manager, and I have a lot of respect for him. I think Palace as a club became so unstable because of the constant pressure surrounding the players and the key players in their squad in the summer, that if they'd have come out week one and gone, right, listen, we're going to listen to this for Elise, we're going to listen to this for Eze, we're going to listen to this for this player, we're not going to sell Anderson because he's a key leader. It kind of felt like Palace had no real plan when Elise left.
But then Palace
kind of felt like they had,
like, I don't know how to describe it. That's not so disrespectful. They're not really like a top 10 club or like.
No, I said this earlier. Palace are 10th to 16th, I would say.
They've always been like that. And I mean, Glasner may have got them into Europe if he was there the whole season last year. I don't know. Like, it's possible because they had all their. It's like at Tottenham when we had Desk. It was quick Desk.
Yeah.
And then when one of them left or one of them dropped off, you saw like how
everyone dropped off. Yeah.
So because Elise left, I think it disrupted that front line as well because they had some sort of chemistry. I mean, Mateta was scoring for fun, I remember last season.
I think the other thing as well is Palace are a club typically who have been managed in the last 10 years, majority by Roy Hodgson, who played 4-4-2, defensive, tight, compact, counter-attacking, wing play, ball into the strikers. That's how he played, right? And for these players, yes, they adapted quite quickly to Glasner, who played a back three, who plays higher wing backs, more attacking, more creative. I think that when you're not used to playing away like that, it can be exciting and fun to start with. If you haven't got a proven track record of playing that way, it becomes hard for those players mentally to fight through it when the results are going wrong because they stop believing in the system, they stop believing in the style of play, they stop believing in the manager a little bit. And even if they're not, even if they're
secure with what they're doing, basically.
Exactly. And then they start questioning every time they get the ball, every time they're in a defensive transition, every time the ball's in the midfield, every time they're in the final third, they start questioning everything. And I think Palace's problem right now isn't ability, isn't the manager. I think it's psychological. I think it's they're just genuinely imbalanced and they need to just reset the waves, calm down, and then build again. And I hope they give Glasner the time because I do really like him. And personally, I don't actually have a problem with Palace as a club. So,
yeah, I don't have anything against them.
No, exactly. So for me, I think, and Palace and the chances they've given young boys and young men in that area of London is amazing. You know, you look at some of the kids they've got off the streets into their academies that have had better futures or gone on to play even semi-professionally, whatever. You know, it's been amazing. So I have a lot of respect for Palace as a club.
And I always love them for the 3-3 against Suarez. But anyway.
I'll always love them for the goal Dele Alli.
Do you remember the Spurs Twitter account tweeted that video of the 3-3?
No.
Do you not remember this? Oh, you don't remember this?
I wasn't on Twitter at that point.
If you remember this, please put in the comments. Basically, so like, you know, they bought the 3-1 lead.
Yeah.
Bought the title, and Suarez was crying. So someone on the Spurs Twitter admin, this one's Twitter was like not as big. It was like 2013. It did like a little Vine, drum Vines back in the day.
Yeah.
Taking the piss out of the 3-3.
Yeah.
And it went viral. And then the guy ended up having to delete the tweet or the Vine or whatever it was, both. And then the guy obviously got in trouble. He must not work there anymore, obviously. And 11 years anyway. But like, it was really funny, I remember, because it's like, why is Spurs taking piss out of Liverpool?
Yeah.
But it was really funny. The Vine was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'll have to try and find it on the internet one day or something.
I think for me, like I say, Palace are a likeable club. I don't have a particular relationship with their fans. I only know one Palace fan personally, and he's sound. So, like, I don't have an issue with fans per se. Don't interact with their fans on Twitter, so I can't really comment on that. Like I say, their youth academy and what they've done for that area of London, giving young men an opportunity to get away from the knife crime and the drugs and the areas, and that give them a real chance. I have so much respect for that. So I have no issue with Palace as a club, and I hope they do pull through, and I hope they do give Glazer an opportunity, and the confidence does flow again, because there's a real quality about that Palace squad. That being said, if that can start at
After
7 o'clock on Sunday and
yeah.
not before that, that'd be great. I think
I think another thing they struggle with, like in my opinion, with Palace is because and I hate to say it this way again. I hope any Palace fans don't take this the wrong way. Glasner has probably worked with better quality players at Frankfurt and other clubs,
yeah,
like European.
he definitely took a step
players, yeah.
down coming to Palace.
Like Palace, I'm not saying they can't play that way. They probably can, but because they don't have the same sort of level player all
There's
around,
a lot of mental pressure on the players that are there to get every decision right to make it work. And for those players that aren't used to playing that way, it's a lot of pressure.
it's a lot harder. And they're not all their squad is technical players. Even
No.
last season, they had 3 or 4 maybe.
Yeah.
Wharton they got as well. So
Adam Wharton, yeah.
Adam Wharton.
But even then, he's looked awful this season. You know,
Yeah,
the confidence
and
is.
line were playing that way really, and then maybe someone else like Henderson and maybe someone. So like maybe half the team were playing in that sort of way,
Yeah.
and then you had the other who were like, I'm not saying they were passengers. They probably did the simple stuff, but like to play European way from being very English,
You've got to have 11 players that can play that way, and it's such a shift, man. It's such, and people say, "Oh yeah, but you know, they played well last season." But my argument to that has always been the case. If I came into Tottenham tomorrow and I took over and I played my back three and I played my expansive and the way I believe tactically as a manager, then if we win the first 2 games 3-0, the next 5 games are going to be 10 times easier than if we lose the first 2 games 3-0. Doesn't mean to say the tactics are any less valuable, the players are any less valuable, they can't do any less of a job. And I think for Glasner, he got somewhat lucky in the sense of the club was kind of a bit down mentally with why Roy Hodgson left and his illness and being in hospital. And because he's a Crystal Palace legend, not just as a manager, but you know, he's under association with that club for as long as I've been alive. And it means a lot to him and he means a lot to the Palace fans. So they kind of were focused on that when Glasner came in, which allowed him to just quietly work bit by bit, and the results started getting better, and then the form and the form and the consistency and the results all picked up, and the momentum just carried to the end of the season. Really, Palace needed the season to go on for another 3 or 4 months. They were in their perfect momentum as the season. Exactly, and I think the fact that the season finished when it did, it killed their momentum. Then you have all the rumours surrounding the manager, to play every single decent player they've got. Elise then go in. You know, they signed Ismail Assar about 4 years too late.
I think Anderson was kind of bigger than Elise in some respects because I think
he's a leader. He was a leader.
I think you can kind of, with centre halves, right? When you use a big centre half in your team, I go back to Tottenham, for example, Ledley King, when he eventually hung up his boots. I think we got Vertonghen soon after him, but even Vertonghen in this first, before Alderweireld turned up, really, I mean, I'm not saying he was a bad defender, by the way, guys. Like, he was a good defender, but he was really inconsistent. There were some games where he just kind of was a passenger.
Sometimes you need that player along to bring out the best in you.
He was sort of a leader in the end, but like to replace someone with Ledley King's quality was like almost impossible, and it still is impossible because he was one of the best centre halves I think that's ever played. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Spurs fan. Like, he's incredible. And you speak to Henry. Henry said he was like his toughest opponent, and that's Thierry Henry. And so, like, for me, like with Palace, obviously Anderson's probably one of their best centre halves they've had in like a long time. To replace him, it's going to be very difficult. And I don't know who they brought in to replace him. I'm not Palace fan, so I don't really know.
They brought in Lacroix, but the thing is, it's not just about replacing someone ability-wise. It's also about replacing them as a personality, replacing them as a character.
You built a sense-back partnership as well there. When we take one away, put someone else in, to build a partnership again like that, which is why, don't get me wrong, I'm not Romero's biggest fan, but this whole notion that some of our fans have is, if we sell Romero, everything's going to be okay because we've got Dragusin. I'm not saying Dragusin and Van de Ven couldn't build like a
perfect relationship, but you've got to start the process all over again.
We have a settled centre-half pairing and a settled back 4 or 5, really. You don't want to
tweak it for the sake of it.
I think it's actually just change the keeper rather than the back 4, in my opinion. Not that we will. I'm just saying, like in logistics, because there's no partnership, they just change the keeper. But when it comes to centre-half partnerships, like when Vertonghen and Alderweireld were together, for example, if one left, which Alderweireld did.
I mean, even if you look at when Vertonghen was injured and we brought in Kevin Wimmer for 3 or 4 games, it took him 4 or 5 games to get up to scratch before.
It wasn't the same, And
exactly.
Once you build up, and they had a partnership from before the Spurs though as well, which is why it was such a clever signing. But like, as in, like, they've already built up a partnership to, like, when King hung up his boots. King had partnerships with Dawson, backing Martin Yole, and they were like the two I remember.
I mean, even if we talk about Michael Dawson for a second, he wasn't the best defender in the world, but Ledley King made him better, and he made Ledley King better. And they had a partnership and an understanding, and they brought out the strengths of each other. And I think Alisson also played the middle centre back in the back three for Palace, which makes it even worse because it's not just built up a relationship with one, but it's two. It's the midfielders, it's the goalkeeper, and I think that's taken its toll.
As well, and Alisson had kind of like Alderweireld because he had that long range passing as well. So and being the middle centre half, like you said, is the most important place in the whole side. Really, I mean, you could argue he's playing three at the back.
I think for me, I do think we'll win. I think it'll be comfortable in terms of performance, but not in terms of scoreline. I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs. I think Palace will score early, we'll suffocate them, smother them, we'll score, and they're before half time, similar to this game. I think we'll get a goal quite quickly in the second half, and then I think it will just be Palace pinned in for most of the game and us just struggling to score, to be fair. I think I could potentially see him going with Richarlison in this game just for a bit more physicality against the Palace centre halves.
Yeah.
It all depends, I think, on who he starts on.
He might play with Alkmaar.
Yeah, I think who he starts on in the European game. But yeah, what's your score prediction for the Palace game?
3-2 to us.
3-2. Yeah, so similar kind of thing, really. Similar kind of thing.
I think we'll concede off a set piece, to be honest. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'd kind of expect us to concede. To be fair, actually, I'm glad you said that. Right, I've got some stats for you now. That's kind of the Palace game done, to be fair. I've got some stats for you now recently. So, our expected goals, and these stats aren't the exact numbers, they're there or thereabouts, right? So, our expected goals is identical to what it was last year. But the amount of goals we've scored from that is like 30% higher.
Yeah.
Take a guess, our expected goals to concede. Take a guess how much less it is at the same point now than what it was this time last season.
But weren't we in like a 10-game unbeaten streak last season?
Right. Still, take a guess how many goals less we were expected to concede this season in these first 7 or 8 games than what we were last season.
I don't know much about XG, so you're going to have to tell me.
Right.
I don't really look at that stat because
the chances
with the goal you don't like.
The chances we've conceded, we've expected to concede 11 less goals by this point than where we were this time last season. Now, one of the biggest things that we spoke about in the summer and the back end of last season, that was for all the attacking football, one, we weren't scoring because we didn't have a striker, but for all the attacking football, we were giving up too many chances. Actually, this season, statistically, we're giving up a lot less chances. It might not feel like it in certain games, but statistically, we are physically, actually, on paper, undeniably, in the stats, giving up less chances and a lot less high quality chances than we were last season, which is a massive progression for me because our goals scored was brilliant, but we said our goals conceded was just too high. And in the back end of last season, what was it? We said if we had a 20 to 25 goal conceded less decrease, then we'd be happy with that, because once you start getting to the point where you're scoring 70, 75 goals and you're only conceding 40 maximum, then all of a sudden you're going to be there or thereabouts no matter what because of how many goals you're scoring. The fact that those numbers, the amount we're expected to concede is so much less at this point in the season already. We're looking at conceding almost a goal a game less than we were at this point last season. Now, when you consider the fact that we played Arsenal, we played West Ham, 2 games that, I know we lost last season, but we got battered last season in both of those fixtures. I know we still lost to Arsenal, but there wasn't a lot.
1-0, and then we lost 3-2 to Arsenal. We lost 1-0 this season.
But we were 3-0 down to Arsenal at half time. Well, we got bad against Arsenal in that game.
I don't think bad. I just think we gave away like 2 set pieces, and then one was the ball to Saka versus Davies, which was always going to end one way.
It felt okay. It felt like. Clearly, the data showed that we were giving up more chances in those same fixtures than what we were last season. And even though one of the results is reversed and the other results the same, it is still clear progress in the right direction. The other stat I wanted to point out, against West Ham, we gave up 0.12 expected goals from set pieces over the entire game. Now, when you consider the fact that for even against Everton, first 2-3 weeks of the season, we were sat there saying that set pieces are a huge problem. If we don't get our shit together, we're going to be conceding goal after goal after goal from set pieces. Even though it's still not perfect, and even though it still has room for improvement, it has been clear in the last 5 or 6 weeks, minus the Brighton game, that, because that game was just an anomaly as far as I'm concerned, it's been clear as the last 5 or 6 weeks that our set pieces defending has been better. Vicario has been stronger, and not just stronger, but betterly positioned from set pieces, and our defenders are better positioned to support him from set pieces than what they were week 1 of the season. Would you agree?
I don't know. It's too much of a small sample. Saying 5 or 6 games has changed everything. Like, for me, I'll measure it over like the season, because we could be speaking in 3 weeks.
Okay, but let's go hypothetically based on the information we have right now. We look better from set pieces defensively. We look more organised, more structured. There's more support for the goalkeeper than what we did at the start of the season.
I don't know about that, because Vicario did that mistake against Italy. So, I mean...
Yeah, but that's not a Spurs game. I'm not even going to talk about that. And we both said that if that was on the middle of the pitch and you backed into someone like that, it would have been given as a foul. So I'm not even going to talk about the Italy one. I'm talking about...
It's a huge improvement, because I still sit there and watch our set piece and think, oh, shit.
But I think that's part of that is psychologically, because you don't trust us from set pieces because of how the last 12 months have been, rather than if I wiped your memory from last season completely and you couldn't remember set pieces at all, and then you looked at our set pieces this season, our set pieces aren't horrific this season. They're a lot. They're organised. They're structured.
That Arsenal set piece was just like unbelievable.
But again, and I still stand by my point, and I'm not excusing it. That was a momentary lapse in concentration from everybody in and around the area. You're going to conceding it in that fashion isn't acceptable, right? I said that after the North London derby. I'll say it again. That conceding it in that fashion is inexcusable. Are we going to prevent conceding from any set piece ever? No. Unfortunately, yes, that one cost us a point, or cost us 3 points potentially if you believed it we were going to go on to win it, which we probably weren't. I do think there has been an improvement, and I think I was looking into the data yesterday and comparing at this point last season to where we were. Even though we were scoring goals galore last season, you look against Chelsea, for example, we tore Chelsea apart. Even though we lost, we were fantastic attacking, even with 10 men.
In the 4-1 or the away game?
No, the home game. But the amount of chances we gave up, even with 10 men, even with 11 men against Chelsea, was just constant. And the 2 games I'm looking forward to, I can't believe I'm going to say I'm looking forward to it. Say that with a pinch of salt. The 2 games I think are going to be the biggest test for us is the first game against Liverpool and the first game against Chelsea.
I think
and the reason
December is Liverpool. I checked, by the way. No. And Chelsea, I think, is the 8th of December, I think.
The reason why I'm saying
around December, I think, both.
The reason why I'm saying those 2 fixtures is because, one, by the way, I really like Onslaught, and I actually watched his press conference this afternoon about the fact that he even said Chelsea didn't outplay us. We were just better in small moments, but they didn't outplay us at all. What the media is saying about us outplaying them, whatever, not true. Chelsea were better than us, really. We just took our chances.
Fixture updates, yeah. Sunday, 8th of December, Tottenham, Chelsea, 4:30. Tottenham, Liverpool, 22nd of December, 4:30. Tottenham, Newcastle on the 4th of January is now 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday, and Sunday, 26th is Leicester. That's the fixture changes at 2 p.m. I feel like those got an email. And that's why when we spoke about those 2 games, it came straight to my head. So I was like, I'll check my email.
I think those 2 teams are going to be the biggest test for us.
8th and 22nd of December.
Because I think for us, if we come out of that, by that point, we should be near as damn it qualified for the next round of the Europa League, which would be great. I think once we go into those things, especially...
Is it January, or when's it finish, the qualifiers?
No, it finishes then, but by that, because of how vast the point difference will be between the top 8, 9, 10 teams and the next 6. If we win again on Thursday, and then if we win, which you guys will know this by the time it comes out, and if we've won...
Is it Galatasaray next after that?
After that, yeah. If we win both of those games, then we'll be pretty much there or thereabouts qualified already.
That's for November, I remember now.
Yeah. I think personally... the game against Chelsea, especially with how Chelsea are playing at the minute and the confidence they're playing in and the possession and the aggression that they're playing with, that'll be a real test for these players. Can they stay calm and composed in moments that they let their heads go last season? Are we more mature? Are we more developed? Are we stronger? Are we further along to the process?
Exactly. I think the Romero one was a red card because it clearly was a red card.
Yeah.
And I just think that it was more tactical than anything else, that game. That cost us because with 10 men, we could have done what Liverpool did against us. I know they lost the game 2-1, but you could argue they could have beaten us that day, even with 10 men. I know we won the game 2-1, but they had the Diaz obviously thing. Where they had 9 men in the end, and they just sat back, soaked us up, playing for the point, which is fair enough. I mean, they were playing us away from home. If we did something like that, I'd be like, it's good tactics. We just chucked everyone on the halfway line. You remember that picture? I was like, what the hell? And it almost cost us kind of against Karabakh. But for me, the Chelsea I'm seeing now compared to last season, I think, I know people will probably disagree with me about this. I think Chelsea last season were better than this one, to be honest.
Really?
Enzo Maresca, I watched quite a few videos on him because I quite his voice. And I've looked at his tactics, and obviously he was only really managed in the Championship at Leicester before, so his experience is a lot less than Poch's. I know a lot of Chelsea fans didn't like Poch, but I thought Poch got them to a place, especially near the end of last season, where I thought they were going to go somewhere. Obviously the issue happened with Gallagher as well, and etc. And he sort of sacked or he walked. I don't know, but I think Enzo, I don't really think he's that. I don't know. I just don't see him as a really good manager. He's all right. But his experience is a worry. If I was a Chelsea fan watching this,
if you're a Chelsea fan watching a Spurs podcast on a Friday night, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but
no, I get what you're trying to say. But I do think it will be a test for us because Chelsea are more confident. I think it
works. That's just my. It's based on what I've seen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were unlucky to lose to Liverpool. To be fair, and I think. Like I say, those 2 fixtures, I think, will be a real test for Spurs because
because I think also the Liverpool this season, arguing another way, I think they're kind of better because at least they know Slot's going to stay, and also just, I mean, they're in really good form. And Salah's
I really like him as a character as well. On Slot's point.
Oh, I watched it on Slot at Spurs before we got bloody Ange.
He was on I remember that video that we did.
Yeah, and so and there's a lot of Spurs fans did it. It wasn't just me, but. For me, I think the Liverpool game is a bigger test also because they're definitely going to be in the top 3, I think, this year. Chelsea, who knows where they're going to be.
I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool win it.
No, I still think it'd be City.
I don't know. But yeah,
it's fine.
But my point still stands is I think those tests, if we can come out of those tests with 2 points even, then I don't know, we beat Liverpool last year and I know that'd be a point less, but if we come out of it playing better, let's be real, even with 10 men, Liverpool annihilated us.
They should have beaten us with 10 men.
Liverpool could have won that game 4-5-0. They lost it 2-1 because they had a goal wrongly disallowed. And then Curtis Jones got sent off, which was a red card. But Liverpool could have ran away with the game before that point. Maybe then he doesn't make a tackle. Maybe they don't get 10 men.
Maybe it's whatever. He sat back because obviously who wouldn't? I mean,
So for me, I think they'll be the real test. But for now, I think I'm seeing clear positive improvement. I'm seeing clear positive changes. We're still scoring and creating as many chances, but we're giving up less chances. We're conceding less chances. We look more stable. We look more organised. We look more disciplined. Watch us go get 2 players sent off against Palace.
Romero turned into the Hulk or something.
The Hulk, yeah. So overall, at the moment, I'm happy. What I don't want is the second half against Brighton to start becoming a common occurrence whereby players think the game is won, they get ahead of themselves, because that is an arrogance that we don't need. The arrogance and the swazzer that we have when we've just gone 2-1 up and we're going, fuck it, let's get another one. 2 minutes has gone since we scored? That's too long. Let's score another one. That's the kind of arrogance you want.
I do think
not arrogance that they thought the game was won. And I think that game, I don't think it was as much down to Ange. I think psychologically those players went in that second half believing the game was won. They got caught with their fucking trousers down. And, I just don't want that to become a repeat. And
I do think I was impressed with that player as well, though, because I often cite Ange his time at Spurs with in comparison to Martin Yol, and that's because I just don't think we're top four side with Ange. We could sneak top four, it is possible, but a lot of people are saying we're going to finish 5th to 6th or something again because of the European competitions and other cups. But we might take seriously, we might not. I don't know because obviously we've not got there yet. But for me, the level quality play we had, like some really good players under Joel, like Carrick, whatever, and then we had a few positions where they were very lacking. In this sense, this team is the 4 positions were a bit iffy with, and the fullback position got less cover.
A left winger, fullback rotation,
and under Yol was quite similar. We had like a really good midfield, I'd say, some really good strikers, but then the defense was a bit. The team was a bit, and the goalie was a bit hit and miss as well, kind of like with Vicario. I think Robinson and Vicario are about the same for me, at least in my opinion. And because they're both quite similar, but as in I think under Joel we actually very struggled a lot to win games away from home. And I remember there was a big thing in the second season where it was such a big thing, and we went away from home and we won like 3 games on the trot or something.
Yeah.
Ironically, one was against West Ham, the 4-3 was Terry's last minute winner, and the away form was an issue. And when I watched that Brighton game, I was like getting flashbacks. I was like, are we going to repeat?
I think we need to go to Palace and
just
it sounds really bad. It sounds really bad, but I'd much rather win this game 2-1 than I would win it 5 or 6-1. The reason being is what I want to.
Anyway, I don't think.
No, but I'm just saying as an example. The reason being is I want these players to be able to grind out an away game, because that mindset that you have with that will be so important, especially with European away games for in the knockout stages. Touch wood, we make.
Oh, well, that's going to be hard. I don't like
then I think we need to have that mentality to be able to go away. And if you can't go away to Brighton and Palace and win, then you're not going to go away to.
What chance do we have?
Exactly. So I think the players need to understand how to grind out a game. What I don't want, it sounds really bad, I don't want to be 1 or 2. I don't want to be 2 or 3 goals up at half time, because are we worried about the same sort of mental collapse again that they think the game is won? That being said, if we are 2 or 3 nil up at half time, it'll be interesting to see what the difference is against Palace than against Brighton. Have we learned from our mistakes? Have we fixed that in-game management, not from the manager, but from the players themselves?
3-2 to Real Madrid. That's not.
Oh, that's surprise. So yeah, I think that's the important thing for me.
Villa doing bits 2-0 off against.
So you said 3-2 against Palace. I said 2-1. Well, I'm not going to talk about the City Cup game. We'll talk about that after the game's played. Because we'll have City and then Villa, so we can talk about the City game and then talk about.
Because if we did it on Monday, City do anywhere, won't it?
See?
If we do it on Monday, wouldn't it be before City?
Yeah, but then it won't be out till afterwards. So it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about City the week after.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. 5-star review and jobs to follow if you're on Spotify. If you want to be a guest and come on, drop us a shout, let us know. For those guys that missed it, I finished the Wolfsburg save the other day on stream. We won the treble. It was insane. There's now like 15 TikToks of me in a suit. It was brilliant. It was absolutely amazing, and what a save! And I appreciate all the love and all the support with the streaming stuff. It's been amazing. I'm probably going to take a 2-week break from it. There might be the occasional Pro Club stream, or there might be a FIFA stream, but there'll be no Football Manager for a few weeks. I just need to chill, take a mental break. Like Klopp says, it drains the life out of you, even though I'm not really a Football Manager. But
you're staying on the touchline press conferences every 2 weeks.
No, but I'm sat in my room doing press conferences, so it almost counts. And then we're going to probably do a retro Spurs database between now and March. We think that'll be pretty cool. The decision's still to be made about whether or not it's Bale and Modric era, or whether it's 15 to 17 and try and get Spurs over the line where we didn't get over the line. In actual, I might do both. I might do the first era Spurs retro and then give myself 5 years with that era, and then do 5 years with the next era, and kind of play our way till March. Sports Interactive announced today, Tuesday as we're recording this, that there will not be a database update for FM24 because of licensing and all that bullshit. So if I do another mainstream save, it's going to be with the same squad, which is kind of pointless. So I'm just going to hold out for FM25 for that stuff. But I'm going to look at doing some Spurs retro databases. I think that'll be really good fun. Champions League with Crouch and Defoe and whatnot. I think that'll be really good fun. But thank you guys for the support on that. It's much appreciated. We're 10 followers on TikTok away from 3,000, which is unbelievable. And we're 6 followers off 200 on Twitch, which is insane. And we can get to 250 by Christmas. Honestly, I may have to do another shirt giveaway for Christmas because I'll be mind blown. And on that topic, just quickly as well, for those guys that are Spurs fans that watch this and watch my other content, what was meant to be the FM giveaway that's now going to be 2 mystery shirts rather than 1 shirt and 1 FM, and FM will be moved to March. The 2 mystery shirt giveaway ends on the 1st of November, and at some point when I have a day off that week, I'll do the clip and then post it on TikTok and announce who's won. And the voucher's in my account, so as soon as it's won, I'll get it sent out, get the addresses, get it sent out. So thank you guys for the support on that one. As we're recording this as well, so Thursday I'm going to the AZ Alkmaar game with my stepdad. Touch wood, as long as my phone doesn't have any problems, there'll be a match day vlog. So you guys, if you're listening to this on Friday, go on my TikTok when you listen to this and check out the match day vlog because that'll be pretty cool. We're doing some F1 exhibit thing beforehand, so that'll be in there as well. Not a big fan of F1 myself, but my stepdad loves it, and it's his first Spurs game in like 3 years. He doesn't go to London very often, so it's going to be really nice. And Harry will finally get to meet him as well, which will be lovely. So
maybe some TikTok content all together, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. Thank you guys so much. Much appreciated. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.